The controversy surrounding the officer-involved shooting of Timmy Henley continues to prove that Westminster, Colorado police officers Louis Engelberg and Chris Hempelman murdered Timmy. We're going to present to you in sequential order of concern a series of short videos that are based on the facts of the evidence provided straight from the DA's office as a compilation from the critical incident team in the 17th Judicial District in Colorado. This evidence was obtained through a records request made by the father of Timmy Henley. District Attorney Dave Young cleared officers Engelberg and Hempelman of any wrongdoing, and this investigation is considered closed. You will find a link to that report in the description of this video. In this first photo, we have the specific building of the Environs apartment complex in Westminster, Colorado. This is where the murder of Timmy Henley took place. There are notable areas to recognize here, including the doorway to apartment 19, which is located behind the staircase. This is where it is claimed, and I quote, "the apartment door swung open," end quote. Also notice from apartment 19, there is a wood decking to a concrete landing, as this becomes pertinent information as we continue the discussion. Also quoted from the DA's report on page 3, and I quote, "A male later identified as Timmy Henley was standing in the doorway with a knife in his hand. Officer Engelberg and Officer Hempelman stood in the grassy area west of the apartment, approximately 20 to 30 feet from Mr. Henley. Mr. Henley wore a black shirt and no shoes. Mr. Henley looked directly at the officers, raised the knife over his head, and began to charge at Officer Engelberg and Officer Hempelman," end quote. This is where it was first claimed by police officers that Timmy had a knife. But of course, since there is no body cam footage, this claim cannot be substantiated, and there is no evidence presented that confirms Timmy ever had a knife in his hand. From this photo, obtained directly out of this discovery, you will see 4 different angles of a knife found inside apartment 19, not in the doorway. There are no ballistic reports or statements from officers that indicate shots were fired while Timmy was anywhere near the doorway. Another quote from the DA's report specifically states, and I quote, "Mr. Henley was still within the concrete landing in front of the apartment building, moving towards the officers when Officer Engelberg began shooting," end quote. That concrete landing is 15 to 20 feet from the doorway of apartment 19. How did the knife get from the concrete landing back inside apartment 19, 15 to 20 feet away? After officers shot Timmy 11 times, 9 entry wounds and 2 injuries consistent with graze wounds, according to page 9 of the DA report. Timmy came to rest in the parking lot in front of the building. As evidenced in this photo, Timmy's cell phone is laying on the sidewalk, less than 18 inches from his hand. This is mentioned nowhere in the district attorney's summary. How is it possible that Officer Engelberg saw a knife in Timmy's hand on the concrete landing when it was laying inside apartment 19? He did not. It was Timmy's cell phone. They murdered Timmy for having his cell phone in his hand. To date, that cell phone has not been released to the family and is being held as evidence, although the investigation is considered closed.